Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, and comics. I'm your host, Josh Scar, and I am actually flying solo this week because this is going to be a special thank you episode. It's been about 1 year since I uploaded an audio file that was meant to be a YouTube episode that Beppo and I had done called Our Favorite Oh Shit Moments. And it had a pretty good reaction, so I figured I would start doing the podcast again. For those that don't know, this podcast was started in about 2017, and it was just an excuse for me to get together with my friends from GameStop and talk Nerd Shop. And if anyone else wanted to listen, cool. If not, no big deal, because we're having fun making this podcast, and we're still making fun. We're still having fun. And it obviously never really took off. In August of 2017, I believe, I started going to school, online school, and it just became a real big hassle in February of 2018 because we had our second child, and keeping up with the podcast, keeping up with school, working full time, trying to be a present husband, and taking care of the house, baby, and everything. The podcast had to take a back seat because it just wasn't a priority. So I made the decision to put the podcast at least on hiatus, if not completely cancel it. And once I graduated in November of 2021, I kind of got that itch again. But I was getting the itch beforehand, which is why the episode launched in October. And, senioritis and all that sort of stuff. No one wants to keep doing schoolwork when graduation is so close. So I had started recording some stuff, and I had a video editor working with me, and no shade on the editor. He just got busy, and he just couldn't keep up with the video request that I had done. We'd only done 2, but he has his own life to live. No big deal there. So I just decided to take the edited episode that Beppo and I had recorded and just upload it to the podcast and see what happens. Sure enough, we became a little more active on social media and we met more people, and it just kind of blossomed. We had some really good interactions with people, and it just kind of became a thing again between me and my group of friends. So this is going to become more of an acceptance speech kind of episode where I'm just going to say thank you to a bunch of people. If you're looking for something more entertaining, probably not going to be this episode, but we'll see. I've got a list of about 30 names, not including the Talking Smack people, but we're going to get rolling here now. So thanks first and foremost to the Talking Smack team, Alex, Matt, Beppo, Becky, Lewis, Scotty, and Ricky, who may have another episode or two in her. We'll see what happens, but being my wife and being my partner, she always gets a thank you. Because without her patience and everything, this whole podcast doesn't happen. Other thanks to other podcasts, which there will be links in the episode description, and thanks to all these people in the episode. If there's a podcast associated with them, there's going to be links. If I guested on that episode, the link will include that episode. If not, it's just a generic link to the overall podcast show. So first and foremost, let's thank Special K and Matt from For Real. Without them, I don't think I really would have had that itch going. I've known them since high school, and I love their podcast. The fact that they had me on their podcast a few times now is just really appreciative, and it's just fun. I love those two. Caesar and the No on 15 Allcast. He's kind of the godfather of the resurrection of Talking Smack, because without him being friends with Special K, and Special K getting that podcast itch, this whole thing maybe again doesn't happen. Next up, we have Brendan and Matt from Unchefed. Check out our Good Burger episode. I think it's a whole lot of fun. Brendan, I love you. You're my brother from New York, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have gotten to know you over this last year. Joey Tim Slade from Video Game Club. The Twitter algorithm bringing people together and just forming friendships through having podcasts. Next, we have Sean at Review It Yourself. Sean, you are a madman. You work so hard at putting out such a great podcast, and despite your lack of love for superhero movies, I appreciate you and you having me on your show several times as well. Blue, Rainey, and Liz from the Red Dove podcast. I love the work you do. Rainey, thank you so much for having been on our podcast, and we hope to have you on again soon. The Red Dove podcast is one of my favorite podcasts that helps keep me motivated in political activism and just keeping myself right as far as my moral compass. Antonio at the Cultworthy and the Cultworthy Classic. You're a standard that I just would love to be able to meet, and if not, even just come close to. I don't think I could ever exceed what you do. You're another madman who just keeps going and loving this podcasting thing so much, and I appreciate you. I have a link to our Goofy Movie episode in here, which again is probably one of the more personal episodes I've ever done. So I appreciate that we were able to have those moments there. J and K at the Fuck My Work Life podcast. This podcast is such a saving grace. If you have awful work life stories, or you just need a reprieve from the stress and just understand that people feel the same way you do, this is the podcast for you. And thanks for letting me share a couple of my stories from my work life. Dan and Lou at Casting Views. Lou, you are still wrong about Cars being the best Pixar movie, but you know what? I still love you anyway. And to both of you, thanks again for letting me come on your podcast. Josh and Amanda at the Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast. This is just like a little slice of home, and it's like it's a comfort food podcast for me. I love coming on their podcast and just the variety that they offer in their show. It's so great. Matt and Adam at Decaying with the Boys. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I have no love for beer. I have no love for combat sports, but they make it fun. And it's such a joy to listen to these guys talk about some of the stuff that they love and the things that they enjoy. And that's what you really need to do with life, is surround yourself with people who have joy, even if it's not something you enjoy personally. If you're surrounded by people who have joy, it's infectious. So definitely check out all of these podcasts, because hopefully some of them will bring you joy, if not all of them. Justin Henson at the Movie Wire, someone who they set a bar that I really want to achieve or reach, and I want to see the things Justin sees in movies and have that relationship with my kids that he has with his daughter. And it's such a blessing to be able to hear all of these things. Ann and Karen from the Sugar Coated Murder podcast. You two just keep making your mama proud. And it's, again, so wonderful to have known you and be able to engage and interact with you. And I look forward to actually, hopefully, if my luck changes based on this last week or last work excursion, hopefully I will be able to actually meet up with you and have an in-person podcast episode with you in the coming months. Raphael at the Geeky Dad podcast, another standard setter for me. I want to be able to have that relationship with my kids that you have had with them on your podcast, The Cosmic Kids. And it's again a joy to listen to your podcast, and thank you again for having me on your show. The Lords of Swine, unfortunately we have not been able to align the stars to be able to have any kind of crossover, but I love your show and I love what you guys do. Nick at Nikolai's Kitchen and the live stream for The Cure. You can't not appreciate what Nick does and what he does it for. So thank you for letting me and Becky be a part of the live stream for The Cure. Hopefully we can be a part of it again next year and just keep raising that goal. Silver Screensavers podcast. We are crossing over soon. I appreciate so much the engagement that you guys have with us, and it's again a pleasure getting to know you. Next we have Multiverse of Badness. The engagement and the love for comics and bad comics. It's such a joy to be able to try to find silver linings in so many things, especially bad comics. The Ocho Duo Parlay Hour. I'm so sorry. ODPH. I can't say your podcast out loud. I don't know why. I know what it is, but I cannot say it out loud. Thank you for the communities that you create through the Apocalypse group and all of those things, and just the support of the indie podcast community that you guys create. It's such a, again, I'm repeating myself because everyone here just helps bring so much joy and just camaraderie within the community. Josh at the Twist My Arm Network and the Quest Me show. Thank you for having me on your Boba Fett episode. We are going to be crossing over again for Andor. it's a pleasure to have known you, and thank you again for letting me come back. And I hope that we're able to make some good Star Wars content. Adam Rose, writer of Corollary and friend of the show. Adam, thank you for just being you and writing the things that you write. They're very fun, and it's a nice change of pace from a lot of the things that we tend to lean towards right now in comics, and I think it's a breath of fresh air. Next up is the Massive Verse team of Kyle Higgins, Ryan Parrott, Matt Groom, Michael Basudel, Melissa Flores. You're included in this, but I'm going to give you a special shout out as well. This is probably the biggest get we've had on a podcast, and I appreciate them just putting out the call and saying, hey, anyone on a podcast want to interview us? And Kyle Higgins has been one of my favorite writers in comics for a long time, and Ryan Parrott's up there too with his work on Power Rangers. The stuff that they're creating is absolutely awesome, and I cannot thank them enough for taking the time to be on a dingy little podcast like ours and getting a chance to talk to these people that I really respect and just appreciate so much. Melissa Flores, again, I appreciate you, and I really love the story that you're creating with the Dead Lucky. I hope we get beyond the 6-issue arc that you were initially enlisted upon. If we get to 12, great. If it continues, even greater, because I really appreciate what you're building with BB and the Dead Lucky. Last few, we haven't been engaging as much lately, but Night of the Living podcast, I appreciate you and the support you gave earlier in the year. You had a big help in some polling stuff that we were doing and just giving some great pointers. Comic Book Keepers, while we have not crossed over, we've had limited engagement. I do kind of view you as a big brother to the podcast, especially with your love for Power Rangers and just the things that you bring to the table. I really enjoy your show. I do hope that maybe one day we are able to cross over. Matt Martin, probably one of the biggest individual engagers on the show. I appreciate so much of what you bring to our engagement and just the conversations that we have and the temptation you bring me every time there's a new variant cover for a Radiant Black or other Massive Verse comic out there. And I'm just like, ooh, I shouldn't spend that money, but then I do. And last but not least, Leo Allen, thank you so much for the amazing epic theme music that you created for us and just being who you are. You are a shining light in so much of this podcasting world and just the world in general. Your joy and your perspective just means so much to me, and I really wish we could have met up when I was in Cincinnati a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, the fates decided that we were not meant to meet just yet. I am going to figure out a way that we can have a dinner or maybe even do a live episode together. But with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you again to everyone for listening. You can follow me at Josh_Scar. You can follow the podcast at Talking Smack Pod. You can email us at tsmackpod@gmail.com. And again, thank you to Leo Allen for our awesome theme music. Please subscribe, rate, review the episodes, either via your podcatcher of choice or Good Pods. So with that, thank you again, everyone, for an amazing year. I'm very proud of this podcast, and I'm extraordinarily grateful for everyone who listens. So thank you so much, and take care. Watch Star Trek.